This is our last video for Chapter 1. This is Chapter 1, Section 6, Dividing Decimals. What you'll learn in this video is divide decimals and to solve problems including decimals. And remember, dividing decimals is similar to dividing whole numbers. You'll have two terms to define in your notebook from this video. They are dividend and divisor. When you see them in the video, pause the video and write them down in your notebook. A dividend is in a division problem, it is the number being divided. The divisor in a division problem is the number of pieces the dividend is being broken into, or the number doing the dividing. These are the three common ways you will see a division problem given to you to complete. When you see these, when you see a problem like this, where 5 divided by 4, the first number goes on the inside, and the second number goes on the outside. Similarly, when you see a problem like this, the number on the top goes on the inside, and the number on the bottom goes on the outside. And of course, if you already see it inside, the division it's already set up for you. But things to remember is that the top number or the first number, when they're written in the other two ways, is the number that goes on the inside. It's the number being broken up into 4 pieces, or however many pieces. Now let's look at an example of dividing whole numbers. Say a roller coaster at the amusement park has 8 cars. Each car holds 4 riders. How many times will the ride have to run so that 384 people can ride? Well, each time the ride runs, it takes one group of 8 times 4, or 32 riders, because it's 8 cars and 4 riders. So we need to divide 384 into equal groups of 32, because we know our grand total of riders is supposed to be 384, and each run gets 32 riders. So if we set up our division, 384 divided by 32, 32 goes into 38 one time, so we multiply down and subtract. 38 minus 32 is 6, bring down your 4. 32 goes in 64 two times, multiply down and subtract. 0 is the remainder. So we'll have 12 runs of 32 people gets us to 384. We can check it by doing the multiplication. 12 times 32 does get us to 384. Pause the video and do these two in your notebook. Be sure to label them as quick check or exercises. Write down the original problem and show all your work. Now let's look at dividing a decimal by a whole number. Say a transportation and tickets for 12 friends to an amusement park costs $364.20. How much will each person pay? So we're looking for the size of equal groups, so we're going to be dividing. So since we're dealing with a decimal, it's always good to estimate first so that you have an idea once you get your answer if you did things correctly. So 364.20 would round to just 360, and 360 divided by 12 is 30, because 12 goes into 36 3 times, add the extra 0 for the 100. So we divide as a whole number, so we place the decimal point in the quotient above the decimal point in the dividend. So it just goes straight up in our equation. It doesn't need to move, it doesn't need to do anything, it just goes straight up. So 12 goes into 36 3 times, multiply down and subtract. 36 minus 36 is 0, bring down the 4. 4 doesn't go into 12, or 12 can't go into 4 rather, so we also have to bring down the 2. Now we're on the other side of the decimal point. 12 goes into 42 3 times, multiply down and subtract. That gives us 6, bring down the 0, because of 60. 12 go into 65 times, multiply down and subtract, and it gives us a 0. So each person will pay $30.35 for transportation and a ticket. To check for reasonableness, $30.35 is close to 30, so that's reasonably close to our estimate, so we probably did it correctly. Pause the video and do these two in your notebook. Again, make sure they're in your quick check or exercises section, number your work, write down the original problems, and show all your work. Now let's look at dividing a decimal by a decimal. Say you use 0.5 pounds of berries to make one smoothie. How many smoothies can you make with 2.25 pounds of berries? So first we're going to be dividing 2.25 by 0.5. Now, whenever you have a decimal in your divisor, meaning the number that's on the outside, you have to move it. It's just one of the math rules. You are not allowed to have a decimal in your divisor. The way you move that is just however many decimals there are in the question or in the divisor, you move it once, and whatever you do on the outside, you do on the inside. So your decimal is now here, so in your answer, it will also be there. So now let's do the division. So if we have 2.25 or 22.5 divided by 5, because once you've taken the decimal point away, you no longer need the 0. So 5 goes into 22 4 times, multiply down and subtract, leaves us with a 2. Bring the 5 down, 5 goes into 25 5 times, which multiply down and subtract gives us our 0. So you divide as a whole number, he places the decimal point in the quotient above the decimal point in the dividend. That just means that your decimal point goes straight up. So with 2.2 pounds of berries, you can make 4.5 smoothies. Let's look at another one for dividing decimals. So remember I told you earlier in the video, when you have decimals or division that looks like a fraction, the top number goes on the inside. So we have 0.475 on the inside, and the bottom number goes on the outside. Now again, if you have a decimal on the outside, you simply move it to get it out of the way. So 1, 2, you want it to be behind the last number on the outside. Now, whatever I do the outside, again, I have to do to the inside. So I moved it 2 places on the outside, so I have to move it 2 places on the inside. And once I've moved it, I can go ahead and put my decimal straight up into my answer. Now, let's look at the division. So I can go ahead and erase the decimal and the 5 and the 0 because I no longer need the 0 because it's not a decimal anymore. So how many times will 5 go into 400 or 47.5? Well, 5 doesn't go into 4, so we need to go ahead and move over. So 5 goes into 47 9 times, because I know 9 times 5 is 45. Then I'm just going to subtract, leaves me with 2. Bring my 5 down. 5 goes into 25 5 times. So 0.475 divided by 0.05 is 9.5. Let's look at another one. Again, your top number goes on the inside. So 9.674. Your bottom number goes on the outside, 0.7. First thing I need to do, there's a decimal in my divisor, or there's a decimal on the outside, so I need to move it to get rid of it. What I do to the outside, I have to do to the inside. Then go ahead and put it in your answer, go straight up. And then I'm looking at 7 going into 96.74. So 7 goes into 9 1 time. 7 times 1 is 7. Subtract down gives me a 2. Bring down my 6. So I'm looking at how many times does 7 go into 26. That's 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract down. Leaves me with a 5. Bring down my 7. 7 goes into 56. 7 times. No, 8 times. Or 57. So 56. Subtract. 1 left over. Bring down the 4. 7 goes into 14 2 times. Subtract down. Leaves me with a 0. So 0.7 goes into 9.674, 13.82 times. Let's look at one more. So again, my top number goes on the inside. My bottom number goes on the outside. There's a decimal in my divisor, so I have to move it to get it out of the way. What I do to the outside, I have to do to the inside. Take my decimal point straight up so I don't forget where to put it in my answer. Now I'm looking at 29 going into 1,631.25. So 29 going into 163. 29 is close to 30. 163 is close to 160. 3 goes into 16 5 times. Let's try 5. So 5 times 9 is 45. Carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. 13 minus 5, because I have to regroup. 13 minus 5 is 8. 5 minus 4 is 1. So we were right with 5. Bring down the 1. 181, again, 29 is close to 30. 181 is close to 180. 3 goes into 18 6 times, so we'll try 6. So 6 times 9 is 54. Carry the 5. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17. Subtract out. Regroup. 11 minus 4 is 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0, so all we have left is 7. So we need to bring down our 2. So 72. 29 goes into 72. I'm going to say twice, because 29 is close to 30. 30 times 2 is 60, and I can't get another 30 in. So twice. 29 times 2. 30 times 2 is 60, minus 2 is 58. Subtract out. Regroup. 12 minus 8 is 4. 6 minus 5 is 1. Bring down the 5. 29 goes into 145. We've already done 145. Because if we look back, we've gotten that for an answer before. So I know that my number 29 goes into 145 5 times because we've already done that math. So I can go ahead and do 145, minuses out, gets me a 0. So 163.125 divided by 2.9 is 56.25. Pause the video and do this quick check in your notebook. Be sure to write down all the important information out of the word problem and show all your work. Now it's time to check your understanding. Be sure to label it as check your understanding in your notebook. Write down all the important information or the original questions and show all your work. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.